Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. This guy right over here. Look at him. Happy St. Patty's Day, Ed
Happy
Wallace and
St. Patty's
everybody.
Day.
Yeah. Well, guys, we are two retired New York City police detectives with 20 plus years of law enforcement. And if you like all things true crime related from a police perspective, consider hitting the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you will get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload a video. Today, we're going to just talk about some update on various cases, Summer Wells, Harmony Montgomery, and we're going to circle back to our grassroots of when we started together, Ed Wallace and I. It was just a little bit past March 17th last year when I reached out to Ed Wallace. We had a case with Christine Engelhardt. She was 24 years old. She went down to Miami for spring break, and she was murdered by two perpetrators on the night of St. Patty's night. So March 17th, it is the year anniversary. We covered this case with Christine Engelhardt, and that was the very first one that I pulled Ed Wallace in. And when I dangled the carrot over Ed Wallace's head with Christine Engelhardt, he was like, "Ron, this is right up my alley. It's my expertise." So thank you for covering that with me. And this is where we got started. I mean, I know you came on full time a significant time after that, but that was the first case. Ed, any thoughts on that before we get into St. Patty's Day?
Well, I mean, as you said, the anniversary is here. Young lady on spring break meets up with the wrong two people, and she paid for it with her life.
Yeah, and that's the sad part is that we've been in communication, and myself with friends of hers and her families and her mom. I never spoke with her father, but I spoke to her mom, and obviously a life changing moment for a single. Listen, a single girl going down to Florida on her own. For me, that was questionable, but a lot of people. My own son has done that himself, but the mom is that's her only child, and now her daughter is gone, and we want to see to it that the two perpetrators in this case, Yvonne Collier and Dorian Taylor. Dorian Taylor stands charged with murder in the first degree ×2, because not only did he give a fatal dose of fentanyl to Christine Engelhardt, he also gave it to another male who ingested a dose of fatal fentanyl, and he was found in the street in the gutter dead. So he's got two murder charges, first degree, and his co-defendant, Yvonne Collier, stands charged with her, not only just her murder, but also rape and use of her credit card, unauthorized use of her credit card. So a lot of that sounds familiar. A little bit of it with Brian Laundrie. He used Gabby Petito's credit card after he brutally took her life. But Ed, so I wanted to talk to you before we went into St. Patty's Day, and happy St. Patrick's Day to all of our Irish and all of our friends outside the United States and within the United States. Everyone becomes Irish on St. Patrick's Day. Isn't that true, Ed?
Except the Scots. We're still Scottish. No, I'm just kidding. It's just a joke. I'm a quarter Irish, a quarter Scottish, and 50% Italian heritage. I'm all American, 100% American.
Ed always likes to stir the pot up. That's for sure. I love it, Ed. So let's say hello to a couple of people. Deco Paint and Tea is here. Marta Fay, happy St. Patty's Day. Kimberly Myers, one of our leaves the most. I'm going to give her props right now. Kimberly Myers leaves the most comments and engagement with Crime Time with DutyRon than anybody. And I'm not saying that there's other people who don't, engage. A lot of people do, but Kimberly Myers, you take first place. Alicia B is here. Moonlight, Mortar, thank you. Matty Boy Sully, happy St. Patty's Day. Hi, Karen M Seeds. Nikki Bella, she's always here. And Bibi. Rianne Evans, thank you. Fentanyl is worse than heroin. Yes. We're going to talk, Ed, I want you to talk a little bit about what we spoke about before we went live. The West Point cadets recently almost lost their lives. Multiple people at that gathering in, I believe it was down in Florida.
Fort Lauderdale, yeah. So spring break again. West Point cadets get an Airbnb down in Fort Lauderdale. They go down there, and in violation of West Point rules and regulations, they go out and acquire some cocaine, but unbeknownst to them, the cocaine is laced with fentanyl. 7 of them overdose, and then emergency service respond, and several of the EMS workers that were performing CPR on the overdosed cadets ended up getting sick as well from their exposure doing mouth to mouth and so forth. And thank God everybody survived.
Yeah.
And they've identified the drug dealer, and he has been arrested.
So there you have it. I mean, again, we talked about their careers in the military ruined, their education. West Point is, a great place to get a wonderful education.
Free.
Free. And their lives have been changed by just one bad decision. So if you have grandchildren or youth out there, if you're parents of young children in their teen years, you have to educate them on the dangers of, if you have a little bit of alcohol, or you're a young adult, you have some alcohol, and you have a weak moment, you meet up with a pretty girl or a nice looking guy, do not be swayed by taking a little bit of, hey, have some of this. It could be the last decision that you make. It could be life ending. It could be something that can ruin your life, as it did for these folks.
Many people don't realize it, but a lethal dose of fentanyl will be about 3 crystals of salt in comparison.
Oh,
okay, you can barely see it, and that's enough to kill you. Now, that's not even the most deadly form of fentanyl that's out there. There's another form called carfentanil. So less than 1 crystal of salt is enough to kill you.
Jesus.
We're talking very minute amounts of this material. In fact, fentanyl is now being looked at in terms of a weapon of mass destruction because it can be used nefariously for that purpose.
Unbelievable. Wow. That's how deadly it is. I mean, we spoke about this, the first responders, the EMS, the people who were doing the mouth to mouth, like you just said, that had hands-on with these these people who ingested fentanyl were sent to the hospital. I believe a few of them were sent to the hospital. That's how deadly this is. Secondhand exposure can put you in the hospital. So it is a dangerous thing. Detective George, thank you for being here. Hello to everybody. Lynn Harvey says, wow, that's really scary. Well, that's really scary. Yes. Donna Barnes, I can't overemphasize how scary and how frightening it is for me as a parent of two young men. I've taken the opportunity to re-educate my sons, because one of my boys is going to be going down to a concert in Miami towards the end of the month. And, spring break is going to be done then, but I still sat him down last night. And I'm not afraid, and I'm not ashamed to say that I had this conversation with him, because it's any good parent would do this. I sat him down and I explained to him, and you know what he said to me? Dad, I also saw that report of those West Point cadets, and I would never take anything. And thank God he's an athlete. He played college baseball, but you still have to always keep. It's not like a pounding a home, Ed. You know what I'm saying? You still have to keep it fresh with them, because men, young women have weak moments, especially if there's a little alcohol involved and they're not thinking straight. So I had to keep him focused and let him know, you're going down to Miami. Your father covered the case of Christine Engelhardt. I brought her up. I brought up the West Point cadets, and at least he was receptive to listening to me, and that's the best that you could do. Like my wife said, "Oh, tell him not to go." I'm not going to do that.
No, we can only lead people to water. We can't make them drink. Right? We can tell them the perils of life, the pitfalls, the potholes that they may run across.
Right.
But sometimes it's in one ear and out the other. And it's sad, because you're trying to help them avoid the potholes in life from your life experiences. But it happens with each generation. It's just that the younger generation never thinks the older generations know what they're talking about or what they're going through, because they always think it's different, and it's not. I always tell people, every action has a consequence. Okay. And be prepared for the consequence. If you are not prepared for the consequence, if you have to question whether or not you should do something, then the odds are you shouldn't do it. Okay. There was a question in the chat, Ron. If you don't mind, I'd like to answer it.
You can highlight it. You can answer it.
All right. Alicia B writes, "Is fentanyl more deadly than ricin?" And fentanyl is a pharmaceutical. It's a designer opioid, whereas ricin is a toxin derived from the castor bean. They're both deadly. Fentanyl acts faster, but you can be saved from fentanyl. There is no cure. There is no antitoxin for ricin that I'm aware of. And within 24 hours, you'll die of multiple organ failures. And again, just a small amount of ricin is enough to kill you too. In fact, the former KGB used to use it as an assassination tool. And if you ever get down to Washington, D.C., there's the Spy Museum there. And you would go in there it's a great museum. I highly recommend it. But if you go there, there is the umbrella gun, a replica of the umbrella gun that the KGB used to assassinate a Bulgarian dissident who was in exile in London. They walked him up on the street behind him, took the tip of the umbrella, and shot a pellet of ricin into his calf. And he was dead within 24 to 48 hours later of multiple organ failures.
My God, I think I remember hearing about that in the international news. So yeah, Ed, I wanted to ask you, because you're getting a lot of comments, a lot of questions about your outfit. Can you go over that for the folks? Because I don't want to get off of the topic we're talking about, but too many people are asking about your outfit and how great you look.
Oh, well, this is my Scottish bonnet beret, and it has I keep doing this right here is my family's crest and coat of arms with our Latin motto, Pro Libertate, which means for freedom. This is the Scottish Wallace, but I'm also, as I said, I have Irish heritage and quarter percent Irish heritage. My father's mother is 100% Irish. My father's father is 100% Scottish. And then my mother obviously is 100% Italian. But so that's what this is. And I would wear this when I played the pipes in my kilts and so forth. And right now I have on, my Boston Police Irish shirt for St. Paddy's Day. And yes, I am wearing a kilt.
Oh my. And are you free balling it under that kilt, or is there any other way to wear a kilt?
Oh, you got to go commando.
I love it. I love it. Let me put myself back on so everybody knows I'm here. I am not wearing my Irish colors. Shame on me. Yesterday, I wore a Gabby Petito green sweatshirt, and my wife was like, "Hey, dummy, tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day. Why didn't you wear that meeting today?" When I got dressed this morning, and I said, "Listen, I'm late out the door. I just grabbed a quick collared shirt, and it's kind of like not business attire where I work. You can really." It's like a casual but neat kind of atmosphere, warehouse / executives. I don't go into the executive part. They're kind of for me, they're kind of uptight, and I don't like to go over there. So I like to hang out with the warehouse folk. But anyways, so my dress code is pretty casual, but I couldn't find anything green this morning. So I got to up my game in my green outfits. I do have an Irish Notre Dame jersey, but I couldn't find it. I was going to wear my Fighting Irish Notre Dame jersey, but I couldn't find it. Ed, I wanted to talk to you about something that I mentioned yesterday. We talked about Summer Wells and some potential people who had contact with her and her family. There was a gentleman by the name of Jose that was interviewed. It's all over YouTube. I know you saw some of it. 5 hours worth of footage. I wanted to just get your thoughts and opinion on that, because I know we're on pretty much the same page. But, again, he was there before she went missing. But my concern was, what I brought up was, if the district attorney, meaning the state, wants to use him to give an example of a setting of how this household was, he was a perfect witness to be brought forward in a trial against a perpetrator or perpetrators in the future, to give the jury a good look at what the household, the household looks like.
Life is like.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's a
you want to talk a
background
little bit
information. He's not a direct witness to anything that transpired
that we know of?
in the case, right? Because it hasn't come out yet. But he's a seems to be a person with a troubled past from New York City who probably has tried to escape his troubled past by moving down there. Somehow he gets introduced to the Wells, and then somehow he gets invited to live in the basement for a period of
Yeah.
time. And while he was living there, he observed the way their lifestyle, what they were living like, and their various I don't know, how should I say it?
You don't have to be nice.
Yeah, proclivities, social interactions and behaviors. Let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? I think it begins with a D. Never mind. But he witnessed all this, and the state of the house in disarray, clutter everywhere, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, the whole thing that was going on in that house.
Right.
While those poor children were there as well.
Yeah. So it's an unfortunate situation, but again, I don't want to get back into it because we I think I covered it pretty well yesterday, but I did want to get your thoughts on it. Michelle Ballard, thank you so much for the $4 super sticker, and thank you to Brent Montgomery. I think I highlighted Brent's super chat before, but I didn't mention it. Thank you, Brent, for the super chat. So, a lot of people are asking questions like this. Julie La Rosa says, you think someone's going to crack soon and tell the truth?
I would hope so. I would hope so. I mean, I don't know. I'm just given the whole way their deviant lifestyle that they were. I mean, and watch her the other day. I watched her live. She did a live. She was stoned out of her mind. She could barely speak English. She was mumbling. She could barely keep her eyes open.
Right.
And I was like, what the hell? All right. Yeah. This person should have never had kids. Okay. And she's out. He's in. Lord knows what's going on. He's got to be stewing in his situation. I'm sure he knows more than he initially let on. I don't know if he's come to the conclusion that it's time to give this up and get your butt out of jail because, or whatever the case may be. But I pray to God that it happens. And then we get some information about what happened.
Yeah, and that's what we hope and pray for. Again, Julie La Rosa follows it up and she says, piggybacking off of what you just said, and she was terrible and everyone was sending her money. Again,
what do you think she's using that money for? You're just enabling her to go out and buy more drugs and alcohol.
Right. Yeah. Enabling her addictive personality and the things that she needs to fight. That money is not helping her fight it. That money is helping her finance it. So again, it's a really difficult situation. That's a whole nother ball game that we're not. Listen, I want justice for Summer Wells, and I feel that the parents, Don is in jail, but even if he wasn't in jail, it would be the same concept. He would be out sitting right next to her on those drunken live streams, carrying on and acting like a fool. So they're doing everything but trying to search for their daughter or trying to do something productive. If you have such a horrible situation going on and your life is in shambles the way theirs is, you would think that they would try to take this opportunity. They have no kids because they were removed from them for safety reasons. And Don Wells himself even said, I'm glad they removed those kids. I mean, I don't know too many parents that would say on a public live stream that or on the news interview that I'm happy this was not a place for any kids to be. This is him admitting to faults within his own home. This is just incredible. These are things that make you go, times 10. But I would say this, activities of what we're seeing going on in this case, not only just by the mom and dad, but by everyone that's encouraging them, egging them on to do more of these interviews and going on live streams. The people that are egging them to go on are not doing it for their better their betterment, Don or Candace. They're doing it for their own betterment. And that's really where the travesty of justice comes in, because in the highlight of all of this, hanging in the breeze, is Summer Wells. We don't know what happened to her. We're not, there's nothing constructive going on. At least when we had, EquiSearch going down there, and some, great, search groups, the drone operators and things of that nature, you were talking about a constructive, positive movement. Now you're looking at spread of toxic nonsense that is just doing everything but helping find out what happened to Summer Wells. So that's the unfortunate part. We saw it with our boys in California City. There was YouTube people fighting with each other and carrying on like jagaloons, and all kinds of crazy rumors and myths and craziness. And people were focusing on things that really weren't important to finding the boys. But meanwhile, behind the scenes, you had Bakersfield and the FBI, California City Police, working hard behind the scenes silently. And 1 year, 14 months later, or a year after Bakersfield took the case for Sincere and Classic, we had an arrest. We hope and pray that behind the scenes, the TBI, the FBI, and Hawkins County are working tirelessly, which I know they are, to find out what happened to Summer Wells. And I'm hoping that soon we have an arrest. And we got these cuffs. Listen, I know it's St. Patty's Day, but I got to do it, Ed. I got to reach in and bring out my Smith & Wessons and get them out there. We want that. We want that noise. That's the noise of freedom. I mean, not freedom for them. It's the noise of justice for Summer Wells. And that's the bottom line. Ed, do we have any bagpipe action today? I know you're suffering from COVID-19 ×2, your second time around. Maybe you don't have wind in you to do that.
No, I can't do it today. It's breaking my heart. I was watching the parade up until you called me on Channel 4 here in New York, and I'm seeing some of my old pals in the NYPD, the band, and it's just killing me. You know what I don't miss about St. Patrick's Day? The cold, the rain, the snow, and the inevitable chafing after you marched all the way up Fifth Avenue.
Oof, the chafing. I marched in one parade in '92. I did it in full uniform, and I wound up down at the pier and got drunk with all of my all of my coworkers, and then I got lost from them, and I had to have Mrs. DutyRon come driving into Manhattan and pick my sorry drunken ass up in full uniform. I'm not proud of it. It wasn't a proud moment, but it was a moment that I'll never forget. 1992. So I'm showing my age a little bit. In full uniform, I was a housing authority police officer at that time. It was separate transit housing in NYPD, and it was the most fun that I had on the job. And I only had about a year in service. Most fun I had I wasn't on the official clock. I was off duty, but I was able to get in uniform, march, and then kind of take my shield and some of my stuff off and still kind of have a couple of drinks and hang out. And then I got rescued by my wife. So thank God for Mrs. DutyRon. But yeah, drinking at the pier with the boys and girls of the NYPD and all the other departments that came down. What a great thing.
I was telling Ron earlier, in the same conversation, how kilts was the cause of many a cat fight at these parties, with drunken women coming up and lifting up the back of your kilt to see if it was true, and starting fights with girlfriends and wives and things of that nature.
Yeah, that I mean, a lot of people don't realize that that's the kind of buffoonery that goes on. And when you have alcohol and a long day of marching involved, everybody gets a little bit of their beer goggles on and a little bit of their beer muscles going. And people do things that they normally wouldn't do, like a female coming over to a male that's got the bagpipes on and lifting up their kilt, and then not realizing their significant other is right there. And it's just like, oh, let's get ready to rumble.
That's it. And it's amazing how nobody tried to break up those fights, though.
No. Hey, I want to pull the chat. How many of us here celebrate St. Patrick's Day? How many Irish do we have in the chat? How many folks become Irish on St. Patty's Day? Let us know in the chat if you are celebrating, if you celebrate, if is St. Patrick's Day a big day for you? Is it not a big day? I'd like to know what it is, for our audience, for our listening audience. And if you do celebrate it and it's a big event for you, let us know where you're watching from, your city, your state, your country. Let's see what happens here in the chat. And I'd like to pick out a couple of the comments. I'll cherry pick them. So Tahoe Hiker Girl says a lot of puts a lot of shamrocks in. St. Pat's Day says a voice for hope. Lynn Harvey says, I'm Italian, but do you become Irish on St. Patty's Day?
Everybody becomes Irish.
There you go. Ginny Henderson says she's a leprechaun. Let's see. Canadian. We have a couple of Canadian folks. Hills 65 says true Irish here, watching from Ireland. Hills 65. Happy St. Patty's Day. Happy St. Patty's Day. Rose says it's not a big day for her. Somebody said to me this morning that in Ireland, it's not a huge day for Ireland. Would that doesn't make sense?
I mean, they have a parade in Dublin, and but it's not treated as it is here.
Right. They say that they celebrated harder and stronger here in the United States for some reason, and I almost wanted to have an argument with somebody at the office over that, but I let it go because I wasn't that well educated on it. Is that true, Ed?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And remember, though, St. Patrick was Scottish. He was kidnapped by Irish pirates and brought to Ireland as a kid. And then he would later escape, go back to Scotland, become a priest, and then be assigned to go back to Ireland and convert the Irish to Catholicism.
Wow. Moonlight View says, pastina the next morning for DutyRon. Yeah, I go right back to pastina. I'm going to have some corned beef and cabbage tonight. My wife, we have some Irish soda bread at home. We're going to have some nice Irish soda bread. What do we got there? Should I go full screen with that, Ed?
I don't know if you could see it.
Go ahead. You got to get closer. There it is. Yeah.
That was my lunch.
Nice. Oh, my. I love it, Ed. Exit solo. Let me just get a couple of these comments up on the screen. Holly Weiss says, London, Ontario, Irish from my dad's side. S. Cisco, channel member, she says, Irish all the way. Eleanor Brown, just to say hello from Scotland. I knew Ed was of Scottish extraction. The bonnet really suits you. There you go, Ed.
Thank you, Lass.
I love it. Kimberly Meyer says, a big day for me. I have Irish in me. I could have said a joke to that, but I won't do it.
Don't touch that.
No, I'm not going to touch it. It's a family show, so I'm not going to do that. But Johnny Cash says, happy St. Patty's Day from JT from the Bronx. Good to see you, brother. Thank you for joining.
Boogie Down is in the house.
Boogie Down Bronx representing. Brenda Chick says, I become Irish once a year, Toledo, Ohio. Not a big day for me, says Vicky Lane. It's okay. It's all right. No problem. I'm a redheaded big blue Irish woman here. Okay, Mama Linus. I love it. Never drank green beer. LOL, says Angie B. I love
Always
it.
the first time.
Yeah. My dad was part Irish. Mom always cooked corned beef. Yuck. Okay.
Well, let me talk about that now too. Okay. Corned beef is not a staple of Ireland. This is an American invention. Okay. When the Irish came over here and they wanted to celebrate St. Patty's Day, they couldn't get Irish bacon. So the closest thing they found was from their Jewish friends, the corned beef. And that's how it became a tradition here in the United States, corned beef and cabbage.
There you go. And you heard it first right here on Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. Well, listen, Ed, again, we cover it. We could sit here all day long and talk about Irish heritage and where things came from, but I got to get back to work. I don't have unlimited time like we usually do with our live stream. I am having fun. I really wish that I could stay here longer and hang out with you guys, but I do have business to attend back to. But Ed, before we go, I want to circle back on Christine Engelhardt with you because that case, again, there was so much to it where we talked about forensics, you and I and Barbara Butcher. We talked about the medical examiner's review, and we were waiting for the medical examiner in Broward County, Miami, I think Metro-Dade, Broward County, to come back with the toxology and all of the things that she ingested came back, and those charges were upgraded. It was not the murder charges when we first spoke about it. So I do want to circle back on that case. So I'm going to encourage everybody here to look up Christine Engelhardt, and I will link a video that Ed and I did. We did several of them, but I'll link the video down below in the description for Christine Engelhardt, 24-year-old girl from, she's now would have been 25, from Pennsylvania. She went down to Florida from her home in Pennsylvania, close to Pittsburgh, so all the way towards the western part of Pennsylvania. And she went all the way down into Florida to have some spring break. She was a manager of a local pizzeria, and she went down there and she was sabotaged inside a restaurant by two men. I won't call them men, actually. Let's call them two animals, who savages, predators. They stalked her. They gave her some fentanyl pills, walked her back to her hotel, and the rest is history. So we are going to cover that. We're going to go back into that case. We're going to circle back on Summer Wells, and we're going to be watching closely the boys in California and Bakersfield. Jussie Smollett also got released. It pissed me off so bad. The higher court agreed, a judge on the appeal agreed to let him be out on his own. $150,000 personal. He didn't even have to put up any money. That to me is a travesty of justice. Ed, any thoughts on that before we go? Oh,
it's again two-tier justice system that would never happen to the average Joe. Okay.
Yeah.
No. So he should have stayed in. I'll say this, folks. If you don't know this word, look it up. Sociopath. And you tell me if you look at this, what a sociopath is, if this person doesn't fit that definition.
Yeah, 100%. And there's just so much wrong about this case, the way it happened from the beginning to the end. If any of us common folk would have tried to pull this off, we would be hogtied and dragged off in the Montgomery, or what jail is that? Cook County Jail.
Cook County.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So one of the worst systems in United States, from what I've seen and the research that I've done on it, and the largest jail system, municipal jail system in the United States. So anyways, quickly, guys, I want to just send a lot of love and respect on behalf of Ed Wallace and I. Everybody, I hope we have a safe, healthy, and happy St. Patrick's Day, no matter where you're tuning in from. Remember, again, it happens once a year, and we haven't had a parade here in New York in 2 years. So everybody's in there. It's a little soggy, a little wet here in New York. It's raining where I am. And I'm sure that in New York City, there was a little bit of rain, but that doesn't stop the Fighting Irish and the folks who out there, Irish men and women who want to celebrate. So hopefully everyone gets home safely and all of that good stuff. Ed, any final words before we drop out?
Erin Gobra.
Happy St. Patty's Day. Guys, thank you for watching the replay. God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat. But especially all victims of crime and their family. We pray for them, and we send them strength and positive vibes. Thank you for watching, and thank you to the replay viewers. Bye from
Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. Take care, folks. I got to drink some more.